Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 50. Episode 50. It is called or entitled, You Can Call Me Sal. Remember that song? You remember that song? That Paul Simon song years ago? You can call me Al. Well, you can call me Sal because tonight's guest is coming on to the podcast shortly. Bryce Salvador, former Devils captain and MSG Networks analyst, who also co-hosts with Erica Wachter. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano, Pucks and Pitchforks editor. We are streaming live on the Let's Go Devils podcast network, all powered by Nova Product Design from Primetime Radio, and now simulcasting on the Primetime Radio network. Nick, how are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's Scott Stevens' birthday today, so I got to reminisce about some of my favorite Scott Stevens moments. That hit against Paul Kariya is still one of my, I know, we look at it completely differently now because, concussions and CT and things like that and scary things. But now that we see that Kariya is living his best life, he's a Hall of Famer. He seems to be, he doesn't have any ill effects from his hockey career because of some of the things he's doing. Now we can appreciate the good hockey that is Scott Stevens and that hit on Paul Kariya in the Stanley Cup Finals of all places. It's great looking back, especially in these tough times, kind of seeing, I have fans coming to me telling me that they're looking at old finals games. A lot of people looking at that 2000 team. Obviously, this was the 20-year anniversary, so there was extra emphasis on that. People got their Stanley Cup rings at the game a couple months ago. So a lot of people looking back at that run, which was one of the best Devils teams that we've seen. So there's a lot of reminiscing lately, Sam, because we're on what week was it that we broke it on the podcast that the NBA was canceling the season? That was with Jared Clinton. That was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah. And you know what's great? And I want to plug Pucks and Pitchforks blog because there is a new feature on the State of the Fan Address. And you know what that's called, Nick?
What's that?
It's called Sam's iPad because you guys have been coming out with some great content, redrafting every New Jersey Devils draft of 2010s by Nick Villano. I just got to plug because I love this thing because now I can check social media live on my iPad and show you what's on my iPad. And I set this thing up because I know Bryce does all those in-game analysis during intermission, and he does with the chalk, the TV chalk is what I call it, and circling. We can do that now with our analysis here on the State of the Fan Address if we elect to. Now, there's the other part about analysis. Are we that smart enough to point things out? I don't know. But I thought I'd show you that, Nick. I thought it was pretty cool.
That's good. Yeah. It's great to just kind of to send off and just be able to jump from one platform to the other and kind of get the, if we got breaking news and we want to pull up maybe a tweet or something, that's definitely an amazing tool in the tool chest.
Yeah, and also I want to give a shout out to our good friend Kevin Clark. He did something really cool for, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. His Twitter account handle is @Bronk53. If you wouldn't mind, I'd just like to play this real quick. Let me play this real quick here. I'm just going to put that in. Now, Kevin did a goal announcement for both Erica and Bryce. Let's listen to that.
Her first career National Hockey League goal. Goal scored by number 1, Erica Wachter. Her first career National Hockey League goal. assisted by number 24, Bryce Salvador. Time of the goal, 9:05. The Devils' goal.
Isn't that pretty cool? I'm still trying to get used to all the controls there, but hey, is that pretty cool? I mean, Kevin Clark did an awesome job, and yeah, we played it live. You can, go on the Let's Go Devils podcast Twitter account at Let's Go Devils Pod. I will be using this iPad to monitor everything, so now I feel useful on this fine podcast, Nick, because you're really the smart one. I just goof around, but now I can probably add some value to the podcast.
See, I've been telling you for a long time, Sam, to finally add some value to this podcast, and I'm glad that you're finally stepping up and listening to me telling you. It's been a while, and I appreciate that you eventually listen. But hey, maybe now we'll hit the big time, Sam. We'll be too big for I don't know. I love our fans, so I don't ever want to say anything that's even remotely sarcastic about ever being too big for them, because we never be too big for them. They're the reasons why we're here. So, but either way, I'm very happy about this new found glory that we have.
Oh, yeah. And also, we are streaming live on letsgodevils.com, live audio streaming as well. We brought that back into the mix because finally I fixed it. So it's like, with our time off, it's starting to regroup a little bit, trying to shore up some things. And you know what? We're going to start adding some more. And, I know everybody needs a distraction. What better way to distract yourself of just listening to us talk about Devils hockey? And there's still lots to talk about, Nick.
There is. I mean, obviously PK Subban was out. He was putting his face just on everywhere that he could. He's going on First Take tomorrow. And he's been on First Take before, but it's First Take. I don't know if you remember this, Sam, but First Take is the first time we talked about PK Subban and the Devils, because he mentioned that the Devils were one of his favorite franchises on First Take when he was still a member of the Predators, and they got traded there. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I definitely remember that. And you know what? Speaking of PK, I think this is time we should also reach out to him. I've been shooting high. I've been shooting really high with our guests this week, and I got some on the burner. Just to let you know. Yeah. We'll talk off there.
Yeah. I'm sending out seeds, but we got things moving. We got we're working it out. We got a guest next week, and then from there on we're gonna be shooting for the moon. Let's see if we could hit some stars.
Yeah, well, Ryan Mann says the Woo Rants during the darkest days of seasons were great content. Thank you, Ryan. It comes from the heart. I just don't rant just a ranting's sake. If I'm pissed off, I'm pissed off. But one thing I do want to compliment, though, is Joshua Harris and David Blitzer again contributing to the community. A substantial donation going to RJW Barnabas Hospital, and also I think there is talk about opening up the Prudential Center as a location for a temporary hospital or something like that. Kudos to them. I mean, during these tough times, just to hear these little stories, coming from your team and what they're doing, it's always great to hear, because I'm sure they're going through some tough times as well. But just the fact that they're keeping themselves involved, and also the whole thing with Fanatics and minority owner Michael Rubin calling on Major League Baseball, hey, why don't we make gowns and masks with all the MLB jersey materials right now, because that's what people are thinking, and of course got the commissioner to sign off in it, and more power to them, using their talents to help everybody else out. And I think right now that's the story, but I just had to put that in there because I've been very impressed. Even when they got it wrong the first time around, but they got it right the second time around about the employee pay and going to 4 days a week. Now they're going to pay 100%. I think that's also very good as well.
Yeah, I mean, I got to hand to Blitzer and Harris. They've made a lot of the right moves, and I said this last week, and I'll tell you when they make the wrong moves. I absolutely will. But right now, I have nothing but good things to say about them because they're giving big money to RW Barmers, like you said. This interesting thing that I see that they've done. They literally emptied the Prudential Center, and this is according to Abby Mastracco with NorthJersey.com. It looks like they emptied the Prudential Center and gave them all of the hand sanitizer and the gloves and other sanitizing supplies they have in the Prudential Center, which came up to 10,000 hand sanitizers, 7,000 pairs of gloves. I mean, these are crucial personal protection equipment that they just don't have, especially New Jersey. Of all the places in the country right now, for them to need these supplies, Sam, New Jersey is rough.
Yo, absolutely. Also, you may want to take a look at your phone as I'm stalling right now. But yeah, you hear the numbers, and it's just again, we haven't even hit that peak yet. Is what they're saying in the news, and again, what gives me hope and confidence, it's really everybody pulling together. Yeah, you hear some oddballs that are partying on the beach or whatever, but New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, and I would say even Pennsylvania, we're all pulling together right now, and just again, it just seems like there's no stop with Joshua Harris and David Blitzer. They're doing everything they can. So kudos to them again.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we're basically at war right now, Sam. We're at war with a virus that is out to get as many people as it possibly can, and we have to fight it tooth and nail. So it has to be everybody in. And obviously, the biggest thing that we can do is just prevent the spread of it, make good decisions, and stay indoors. And everybody knows where I live. I live in Tampa, which is about a hop, skip, and a jump away from Clearwater Beach. And we saw a couple weeks ago what was happening there with hundreds of people on the beach, not social distancing. And surprise, surprise, we're hearing a lot of these spring breakers now have the virus. So, it's a proven commodity, whether young and old. We just got to take a couple months off from our lives. And once we do that, then everything is going to be gravy. Everything's going to be fine. And we're going to get out of this. We've gotten out of it before. And, we've seen these trends before, but we just have to listen to the health officials. And, this is scary. And it's frustrating, and we miss hockey, and we miss our lives, but it's temporary, and it stinks, but we're going to get through it. And we here at the Let's Go Devils podcast, we're going to do our best to help you get through it by having some great guests talking about hockey. I did do that redraft piece. Was a lot of fun. It was also kind of sad because you could see like the kinds of players that should have been still available to us. But, looking back at it, there were some drafts where it's like, well, Devils never really had a chance because there just wasn't really a lot of good players. I was looking back at the draft where we took Quenneville, and there just wasn't a ton of great players left. But, we still ended up with a pretty good one, actually. And I had a pretty good system in place to do that redraft article, and it was a lot of fun. And you guys should definitely check it out because it's just interesting content. You get to look back and kind of see how everything trickles down. There's no Taylor Hall in this world because we didn't take Adam Larson, and there's just a lot of interesting trickle down effects, Sam.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Do you know what the most funny thing is?
What's that?
Just real quick, the funniest thing that I saw that I thought everybody get a kick out of is that in the redraft articles, it had Miles Wood as a first-round pick. I just found that funny. For as much as people just bang on him, the redrafts have him as a first-round pick.
Well, whatever. If you're ever fortunate enough to be drafted, the number is just a number. You know.
Yeah.
we all love Miles. So anyway, our next guest is on the Nova Product Design Hotline. You know him as a former Devils captain, took the team to the 2012 Stanley Cup Finals. Also is MSG Networks TV Analyst with Erica Wachter. Pleased to welcome him to the State of the Fan address, Bryce Salvador. Bryce, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you tonight?
Good, guys. Hope you guys are staying safe and everything, your families are doing well. It's an interesting time in the world right now.
It's definitely strange, Bryce. This was supposed to be our end of the year pod where we're going to kind of go over everything that happened during the season, but now we're going over what could possibly happen with the NHL coming back. So we appreciate you coming on though, and it's going to be interesting. Well, where I want to start is I do want to take, a lot of the times we take the analyst.
Hey, Nick, do you mind if I just say something? Just a comment I heard you talk about Miles Wood and about the draft pick, and you're right. I was drafted in the 6th round, 138th overall. So sometimes that draft pick number, doesn't mean a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen first round picks who never make the league, and we've seen, look at Andy Green. Andy Green didn't even get drafted, and he's, he was our, another captain. He was, two captains in a row with later undrafted. So, it definitely is just, you're drafting these kids that's 18 years old, and you don't know what they're going to become. So yeah, look at you. You had would you have an 18-year career?
14.
14. So yeah, I mean it's a shot in the dark at best. But we will have plenty of time to talk draft stuff. I do want to talk to you about kind of logistics as a player. I know we usually take your analyst hat on, but I do want you just look at this as a player real quick and kind of see what the options are. So do you? Do you have? When it comes to the return and kind of this long layoff, and we're hearing about a lot of players proposing these things where they'll have just jumping straight into the playoffs. I mean, you've had a bunch of playoff runs in your career. How much time do you think it's going to take for a player to come back from being off the ice and cold to being playoff ready? How long do you think that's going to take?
Well, I think it's going to be a really delicate situation because what's really unique about this compared to, say, any type of other stoppage in play is that there's no access to ice. And that's what's different than any other professional sport. If you're a basketball player, you could be shooting hoops and, in your backyard. Golf, you could be hitting balls at places, and, baseball, soccer, but hockey, you need an ice rink. All the rinks are shut down. You need to know somebody on the deep inside to get any type of ice. And so, I just think that it's going to be really highly improbable for the NHL to start back up anytime soon. And on top of that, even if you say, hey, April 30th, or we'll say May 1st, everyone's, allowed to kind of return to, activity and stuff like that. Well, if guys are traveling, are they going to have to be quarantined when they get back into the country for 14 days? Is everyone been able to train, not train? Did some guys have injuries that they weren't able to get taken care of because of they wouldn't have access to hospitals, or they were restricted? So, some players, like you see in Ottawa, had the coronavirus. And so, so there's just so many moving parts here, guys, that there's no playbook for this. And it's, and I think you really have to be, smart about the next few steps here. Yes, everybody wants hockey to be back and get some kind of playoffs. You don't want to have a lost season, all right, where no one's playing for anything. But on the other hand, if you try to force something back too quick, and then all of a sudden, people get infected or they actually come down to coronavirus, you have to shut things down again. And then you start jeopardizing, everyone's ability to, to be ready to play, say, in September. And so it's just a really tricky question. And on top of that, so not only do you not have the NHL players, but every other league isn't playing. So if you had some prospects or some players that you thought were ready to play, or maybe some of the older guys, now being off the ice for a couple months, maybe they're just not going to be able to play when they come back. I remember, in the other lockouts, and as you get older, it takes you that much longer to get ready. And I think that, if the league is smart about it, if you can kind of just shift to just starting next season, then everybody can kind of get back into their routine. So you can say, hey, the season's over in a week here, and no one made the playoffs. Okay, well, everyone's going to take 3 weeks off, and then you're back in the gym, you're back skating. And for me, for example, I would skate. In July, I would start getting back on the ice. I'd go a couple times a week. Nothing too hard, nothing strenuous. Just kind of get the groins, the back, like everything just loose, and nothing competitive, no hitting. But as August came around, you were on the ice 4 or 5 times a week. You had bag skates, as we call them, conditioning skates. You're going hard. You're working out. You would do that for 4 weeks just to get ready for preseason, right? And then so you'd have 4 weeks of really hard skating. Then you get into September. It tapers down just a bit because you're coming into camp, and you got different physicals and stuff like that. And then you have the young prospects. They're doing their camps and the rookie camps and stuff like that. So as the longer this goes on, guys, I think you're really risking injuries of the players if you come back. Even though I know here a lot of people have been kind of pushing for some kind of modified playoffs and stuff like that, but I think it'd be very difficult.
Yeah. So, let's talk about a perfect world where, say, we do, come back May 1st. And I know one of the options that's been floated, and we talked to Greg Wyshynski of ESPN last week, and he thinks that there's no chance this happens. But, I mean, these are weird times, and we literally have no idea what's going to happen when we come back. But one of the options that was floated was a 31-team playoff bracket where basically everybody gets in. You kind of figure it out from there. I know PK Subban was on a conference call with a couple of the stars of the Metropolitan Division, and he says that he's all for this. They didn't even ask him about it. He brought it up on his own. He says he's really hopes that they could find a way to do that because he wants some of these these young Devils, to get that playoff experience. So, Bryce, I want to ask you, even in a strange format like this year and kind of just an off-the-wall kind of where we're coming from, how important do you think it would be for some of these players who've never experienced a playoff atmosphere? What do you think that would be like for them?
Well, it'd be awesome. Anytime that you can have a young player, a prospect, someone in his first couple seasons be able to taste the playoffs, it's invaluable. You just can't replicate that. And so that's why everyone's trying to float around these ideas of just kind of at least having some kind of playoffs and somebody win the Stanley Cup, because you just don't want that asterisk. Like, nobody won the Stanley Cup. Like, no team was number one. And so I think that's just, it's just a concept that's very difficult to just, fathom, quite frankly. And so I think everyone's just like, give us any type of idea and we will run with it. And just take the practicality out of the reality of that happening, because we're just not, no one's really yet in that place in their mind to say, you know what, there just isn't going to be playoffs. There isn't going to be a team that's going to win the Stanley Cup. And because it's just something you can't wrap your mind around. And so I think that's why you're hearing these concepts, but but then if you look at through, the lens of reality, like we just kind of talked about, it's, probably the earliest you could even start would be, maybe June, if everyone could be back on the ice May 1st, right? And that's assuming that everyone could travel, get back to their teams and the rinks open up. But, you're hearing, Blitzer and Harris, they basically, some of the reports, and I think you guys even talked about it, what they're looking to do with the Prudential Center here over the next couple of weeks. So, I just don't see a rink being open until, maybe June, July, and even down where I'm also, highly involved is the youth hockey level, right? And so I got a 10-year-old son, and I'm his coach, and and there's this whole generation of kids that are just devastated right now because they didn't get to finish their season and when are their tryouts. So, and I think not only for the players that we move back up to the NHL conversation that you guys asked, yes, you want your young guys to have, playoff experience. You want the fans to have, their team in the playoffs. And I even say more importantly, you want Hudson Salvador to see there be NHL playoffs and see a team win the Stanley Cup and hopefully see the Devils in the playoffs because he's a big Devils fan. And so you want all those things to happen, and they're all equally important.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be fun. I think it's definitely a fun idea to see the Devils in the playoffs. But it does seem a little unrealistic to kind of get all these logistics. Like you said, it's just, you were talking about, you were skating, and that's just skating. That's not training camp or anything like that. You're skating for what it sounds like about 7 weeks. So, I mean, hockey is just a different animal. It's not, you have to get strength up and speed up like every other sport, but at the same time, you also have to get skating up. So, I mean, it's just a different dynamic. But let's look back at the season real quick. I know we had to kind of get back into that mode and kind of think back, but it's been a couple months since we talked to you, Bryce, and a lot has happened. The trade deadline. Blake Coleman and Andy Green and Sammy Vatanen and a bunch of other players got sent away. But the Devils were playing their best hockey after all that. That on paper, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But can you explain like the dynamic of how losing all those big name players, like your captain and Coleman and all these players now out of the locker room, how that could turn the team around like it did?
Well, I really look at it, from the perspective of the start of the season was just unrealistic, to probably replicate again. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And so you just really had the whole team was just in disarray. They were trying to figure out like what just happened in the month of October. But I started, seeing some stats in March there where the beginning part of March where the Devils, like they weren't blowing leads, even though, when they had a lead going to third period, I think the record was like 12-1-1 or something. I don't remember that. I'm a little bit far removed from that, but you would never think that because of 4 or 5 leads they gave up in the month of October, and how long that carried on in the mindsets of just everyone thinking that, geez, a team, if they got a lead, they're going to lose a lead. And I think one of the things that happened through all this was Mackenzie Blackwood. I think you saw him transform into realizing that I got to be the guy here. I got to be the number one. And I think when Corey was sent down, I think Mackenzie realized, like, there's no one here to help me. And so I've got to figure this out. I've got to own that net. And as his play really solidified, because if you look, you just see he was a stud. So, and when he started playing the way he did, it calmed everybody else down in front of him. And they say the goaltender, he will save and correct a lot of mistakes, a lot of missed coverage, a lot of high danger shots in front of the slot. Like, and even on paper, you even you look at the coaching change, you look at whatever happened to trade. The Devils analytically were not. They were worse defensively. They were worse offensively, but yet they were getting points. They were winning, and that all really stemmed from the strong goaltending that you were getting from Mackenzie Blackwood. And then everyone else relaxed, and they found ways to just get points. And they realized, hey, we're all in this together. It was a clean slate, with Elaine Nazardine coming on. He did a fabulous job of just putting confidence back into that locker room, right? And just that herd mentality, that team mentality, that brotherhood. And he just started getting everyone to buy in. He did a fabulous job. Peter Horchek, coach on the back end there, he just really calmed down the back end. You even saw PK's play really become, I'd say, stronger defensively. His whole play started to get better. And so you had Mackenzie Blackwood, you had PK, and then you just had guys really start to come up. Like, it was a great stepping stone for Nico Hischier to really realize, hey, I have nobody. I have to make everybody else better than me. I don't got Taylor Hall pushing the pace on the wing for me, trying to create space. How am I going to do that? Jesper Bratt really picked it up. Right? So you had all these guys really start to fill in and start believing in themselves, and it's contagious. And so that part was really important, I think, for the Devils to have, to really start to have that success going down the stretch, so that they didn't end the season feeling like, holy cow, we just, like, what a waste of a season. At least there was some, like I said, some strong strides there, and importantly, like you said, Nick, the fact that they traded away your captain, they traded away arguably your most impactful player, Blake Coleman, in every situation. Even started to be effective on the power play when they started giving him some time. So he was your heart and soul guy, Blake Coleman. PK, power play at the end, grit, and we still found ways, to be productive and get points and win. And so, you can go down the list, and then, just on the defense, analytically, you can still say they were exposed a lot, but they just got the job done. And that's, where the team was at. That's what you needed. And so I think that was encouraging, because it just also showed that you can add a few pieces and you're not as far as away from competing again and pushing for the playoffs as everyone, was thinking back in November. Like, we're like, holy cow, are we 5, 6, 7 years away now? Based on what we just saw in the month of October. Now everyone's like, okay, we can breathe again. There's lots of great prospects coming in, the trade, the draft picks that, general manager Fitzgerald did there, and, Marty coming on board and consulting and advising. And so I think there was a lot of positive things that happened in this last part, 20, 30 games this season that was good to see for the organization.
So I got two more questions, just because, and just kind of based off a couple of things that you said. I just wanted to kind of get your idea of how the Devils are going to move forward. First, I do want to look at, you mentioned Jesper Bratt and how well he was playing. So I do want to ask, I've been kind of, let's say, combative about people who say that the only reason that Jesper Bratt turned his season around was because of that benching, that, he got the healthy scratch. I believe it was in the beginning of February, if I'm not mistaken. It's all kind of a blur now, but and he did play a lot better after that. But I don't see personally how one correlates to the other. I think he was always just going to play better. I feel like he was kind of getting on a roll when it happened, but maybe maybe you could tell me I'm wrong. Like, do you think that benching had anything to do with how well he played afterwards?
No, I think it was just coincidence. I think because even at that point, Jesper was showing a lot of consistency in his play. He was playing strong. Look, he had 16 goals. That's more than he had his rookie season. And I think, what we started to see, what I saw the last part is that I think his body is starting to mature and grow into being able to sustain playing at the National Hockey League, right? He's a small statured guy. The last couple of seasons, like, if we really look at it, just, he hasn't been able to play 80 games. I think his first season he was in the low 70s. Last season he was injured right at the start. He only played 50 games. And then, so for me, and he was on pace. He had a healthy scratch and missed some games, but I really started to see, especially in the second half here, he was trending up. And so for me, that was what I wanted to see. Forget about his point production, but can we see him start to take off in the second half of the season? Because it's going to be a big tell. First two seasons, you saw him really fade off in the last part. And so it was encouraging. And I think just like I said, it's a weird thing to explain, but when Jesper Bratt was tested this season. There was nobody else. You had Paul Mary, you had Jesper Bratt. Where are you going to score goals? Who's going to be dynamic? Who's making plays? Right? And so Jesper Bratt was faced with, hey, am I going to show that I could be a top 6 forward here and push for a consistent role and an important role in this team? Because if not, when else am I going to get a better opportunity than right now, with all the guys that were traded and I'm getting top line minutes. I'm playing every situation. And so, the healthy scratch, you never know what, unless you're in the locker room, unless you know what's going on. He could have had, maybe an ailment or something, they just said it was just a healthy scratch. You don't necessarily know, but I don't think that his play dictated necessarily a healthy scratch in that sense where they were down on his play. I think there could have been other factors as well, but I agree with you, Nick. Like, it's more of what was the body of work the last part of the season for Jesper Bratt, and for me, it's showing positive. It showed positive signs.
And real quick before we let you go, I just want you to tell us when with Blackwood playing like he is this team as far off as it looked like at the trade deadline? Like, do we have another long rebuild, or with the goalie in place and obviously Nico and Jack Hughes and these pieces, do you think that there could be a quick turnaround where they can figure this out on the fly?
I do now, guys. I sincerely do, because of the goaltending situation. If Mackenzie Blackwood, is able to play and shut the door down like he did there, then you can build off that, because everyone else in front of you plays just within their own skill set, their identity. And I just tell you, it doesn't matter who's in net, whether it's Marty Brodeur, whether it's, Blackwood. Like, if they are off their game, right, you're everyone in front of you. It doesn't matter how good of a team or individual players you have, you play differently. And as a defenseman, if I know that my goaltender is letting weak goals in or just fighting it, like, you put your stick in the wrong place and you're deflecting them on him, right? You're sliding out of position because you don't want to give up a shot or a rebound, or you're taking yourself out of position, just like, yanking a guy's stick, trying to lock a guy up in front of the net, and you realize that the puck's right behind you, sitting there for 5 seconds, but you're so worried about just, trying to not actually make a mistake because you're not going to get a save. And that just, it wreaks havoc, and then the team doesn't get results. So the goaltending situation, everyone talks about it, right? And you need to have it. And Mackenzie Blackwood's numbers for a rookie, what he did, the amount of games that he played, the wins that he had, especially from where, the team that he was on, was up there with the big boys, right? Vasilevsky, and the amount of games and the workload that he got. So not only did he play well, he played a lot of games, and he played, he faced a lot of shots too. So, and high danger shots, right? Like, so, I'm not going to sugarcoat some of the structure breakdowns that there were out there. I'm not going to say, hey, the Devils played, awesome defensively, and the structure, at times didn't have holes in it. No, but Mackenzie was there, and that's what's important on a team. You need everyone to, at times to really, make up for mistakes, and he did that. And so, that brought a lot of hope back, I think, from the organization's perspective. And what was also equally important, and I don't know what's going to happen, what they're going to do with Corey Schneider, but it was, for me too, was a big test to see how Mackenzie Blackwood was going to be when Corey came up, because they had that personal relationship, and Mackenzie, looks to Corey as a mentor, and you saw that it didn't affect Mackenzie Blackwood's play. Corey played well, and they still had that friendship, and I was hoping that Mackenzie Blackwood would maintain that attitude and that posture that, hey, like, this is my net. It's no disrespect to Corey Schneider by any means and all that, but Mackenzie, obviously with his age, 23, like, he is the future for the Devils, and And he needs to believe in that himself too. That's what you need from your number one goaltender is like, hey guys, when the going gets tough, I'm your guy. And even though he has a great mutual respect for Corey Schneider, he's happy for Corey when Corey plays, but when he's in net, he wants to maintain that it's his net. And that's a big development step for a young goaltender, is when you have a mentor that's also there with you. How do you manage that mentally so that you're being respectful of his time, being your mentor, Corey Schneider, and yet you still want to develop. So, it's a long, kind of long explanation for your question, but I think Mackenzie really did a fabulous job of developing, and that bodes very well for the Devils, making a much quicker transition to getting back into the playoffs.
Indeed. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for taking the time out to coming on to the State of the Fan Address. Please stay safe, you and your family, and maybe one day we'll have you Skype on for a little bit of a fan chat or fireside chat.
Yes, well, the internet, the connections, though, guys, the bandwidth is sometimes so painfully slow. But yeah, I'd love to get on. We can do a Zoom or a Skype, and we'll see where everything is, maybe in a month or so. But yourself, guys, all the Devils fans listening, everyone be safe, and spend time with the family, and try to help people, and and be there for your family members and close friends.
Absolutely. That's why we practice on the podcast, long distance podcasting, because Nick is down in Florida and I'm in New Jersey, so we're all at a safe distance. I try to get away from Nick as far as I can anyway. So
Too
great.
Thanks so much, Bryce.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. That is Bryce Salvador of MSG Networks. He does the intermission reports, the pregame, postgame with Erica Wachter, giving us his insight. Really thankful that he came on to the podcast tonight, Nick. Also, I want to point out that we are a pet-friendly podcast. We see a cat behind Nick Villano, and this goes with the theme of yesterday's Real New Jersey podcast. If you haven't listened to it, you can download it on iTunes, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, anywhere that you can find our podcast, Spotify, because, Nick had a little visitor, and, I said, in the spirit of, doing this thing, this distance, social distancing and all that, we have to love our pets, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of us are just that's the only person we're getting to hang out with at this time. So, this one's Batman. Widow was by my feet earlier, but she's gone. So we're, unfortunately, the new podcast set up for the social distancing situation has no door. So Batman just wanted to make everybody know that he will periodically be making appearances on the podcast, I suppose.
Well, you know what, Nick? Why don't you tell the truth? You're in the doghouse right now, no pun intended, and your wife kicked you out of your studio, and that was the end of it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Kind of.
I mean, it's some of us are working from home, some of us are not. So, certain parts of the house are now becoming home offices, and other parts of the house are becoming podcast studios. So, I get to, we got the hats, and we got that's Batman again. That's not the hats, and. But it's we got the jerseys up. We're making do. We're making do with what we got, Sam.
Oh, absolutely. So we should play the game very soon. And why don't you and Batman talk to social media as I get Charlie Borges Jr.
Yeah, and you guys, I saw somebody brought up the goal that Bryce had on the 5-hole. I'm trying to pull it up again. In that 2012 Stanley Cup conference final, and that's a fun one to go back and rewatch, just to kind of see that team and how much skill that team had and how fun it was to watch that team. I just remember how it's so weird to say now because we didn't win the cup and a lot of those guys we hate now, but that was my favorite playoff run. We were the underdogs in every single matchup, and we got to beat both of our big rivals. I mean, we've been the little brother to the Flyers and the Rangers for so long, and to just unceremoniously just knock them out one by one. I mean, that's an Eastern Conference final, and that's a playoff series that I think I might go back and do something retroactively on it, kind of look at it, and I don't know about you fans out there. I'm trying to get into the video game simulations that the Devils have been doing, and at least it's fun, but I just get angry because like Miles Wood is scoring and Pavel Zacha is scoring, and I'm like, why couldn't this be real? Why couldn't we be getting Zacha and Wood scoring in real life? And what do you think, Sam? Are you into the simulation of games with the NHL video game, Sam, the Devils are doing?
You know what? I think they could do better. But what do they really have? But it is kind of funny, though, like making 93 saves, that kind of stuff. Look, they're doing the best they can. It's hard to be critical, even though I like to be critical of the Devils, but there's really nothing to be critical right now other than, look, at least they're making an effort. I mean, they could have just threw in the towel and be like, all right, see you guys later till, we're back up and running. They didn't do that. What they're doing on social media is great because they're engaging with fans. They have that connectivity. Like, we didn't forget about you. So when the season starts back up, whenever that is, it's like we didn't, lose touch with an old friend for 6 months or whatever how long. But I will say though, you've got Batman in the background before, but our next contestant, we've had him on before. He eats guinea pigs. I certainly hope he doesn't eat bats, or especially a horseshoe bat. On the Nova Product Design Hotline, we have Charlie Borges Jr. of Pucks and Pitchforks blog. You can find him on Twitter at Charlie Borges Jr. Charlie, are you ready to play the woo?
Of course I am. I'm always ready. I don't eat bats, and the guinea pig was only a one-time thing.
So today, are you guys familiar with the game? I'm trying to say this without cursing. Screw, marry, kill.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so basically, I'm going to give you 3 players, and of those 3 players, you have to tell me which one you want to sign long-term, which one you want to give a 1-year deal, which she will absolutely leave immediately when it's done, and which one you want to just cut entirely. So you are basically marrying one, a 5-year deal. You are whatever you want to call it with the other one, with the 1-year deal, and then you are killing the other one by cutting him or not signing him or being done with him. So I'm gonna ask you both. This will go by pretty quick. So I'll ask you guys both for each one. And Charlie, you get the game, so I'll let you go first. Charlie, okay. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, of these three, tell me which one you want to sign long-term to a 5-year deal, sign to a 1-year deal, or cut entirely. Your three players to start are Miles Wood, John Hayden, and Kevin Rooney.
All right. So I have to give the 5-year deal to Miles Wood because out of all three of them, he has the most potential, and I believe he's the youngest out of all of them. He's somebody that he's shown that he can fit the system that they want to play with his speed. He just needs to bring his all-around game together. I'm doing my 1-year stance with the great Kevin Rooney. I don't know why, but the organization seems to be obsessed with him. He's done a fairly decent job, so he's kind of shutting the fans up recently before this whole thing has gone down. So let's see if he's the next Blake Coleman, because Coleman didn't really hit his peak until he was 27, 28, and we dealt him for a first-round pick and a guy like Nolan Foote. Not saying that we could ever do that for Kevin Rooney, but you never know. And then immediately just cut John Hayden. From what I've seen, he's so far been statistically the worst forward that we've had in a long time. And it just hasn't worked out. We took a flyer on him, getting rid of Quenneville, and it just hasn't worked out for Hayden. So I would have to let John Hayden go.
All right, Sam. Same three to you. Who are you doing to what?
I just want to be a little bit different from Charlie Borges Jr. because he eats guinea pigs. So I would give my 5-year deal to Kevin Rooney.
Why?
Because I think you'll get a lot of value out of him. I mean, think about the contract. He's not going to get hold you up cap-wise. Character guy, gritty player, that's how I feel. Even Matt says in the Facebook Live that Sam Wu for Devils next GM, he knows where the beef is. So I just wanted to tell you that I would sign John Hayden for a 1-year deal because I like having these rough and tumble guys because that's what the Devils need is a little bit of a spark. Somebody to punch you in the face. And as for Miles Wood, you're just too freaking expensive. I love you, man, but you know what? You got to do better than that. So I say, see ya. Just
Interesting. All right, Sam, I'll let you go first on this next one. Sign one long-term, sign one to a 1-year deal, which they will immediately leave afterwards, and then cut one. Your three players are Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, and Jesper Bratt.
Wow. But Nico's already been signed for a long-term deal. Well, are we pretending
Yeah, this is just play the game, Sam.
All right. Long-term, I would say Nico Hischier because he's showing grit. He's showing leadership. He's a first overall pick. He's quiet about his business. He's all business. And I like that when he used a curse word in that viral video that went out against the Detroit Red Wings this past season. Yeah, if I could find that dump button on here, he said, hold your ears. And I like that in a player. So he's got all the intangibles, all the grit, skill, score, leader, top line, center. Now, between Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt for a 1-year deal, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to have Jack Hughes for a year because he's got potential. Not because it's so obvious that Jesper Bratt is, not a better player. It's just that Jesper Bratt needs a little bit of benching, so to speak. So you tell Jesper Bratt, hey, see ya. He'll come back to haunt you because he's going to be like that 60 goal, 60 assist guy, and he's going to have this great career, and then I'd probably get fired as GM. Well, why'd you let him go, Sam? So those are my picks for 5, 1, and gone.
All right, Charlie, what are you going with?
I agree with Sam. I'm giving Nico the long-term deal. As once again, going off of Sam's point, Nico has shown leadership. He is the next captain. If it's not Sajak for a year, it's Nico. He's going to be here for a long time. Even in the scenario, he'll be here for a long time. He'll get to see. We don't want to give somebody who's the next captain another 1-year deal, kind of like Zach Parise, where he gives us all this hope and then he leaves for going home. Sam went differently the first round, so I'll go differently the second round. I'm going to give Jesper Bratt the 1-year deal. In this 1-year scenario, Nico and Jesper, they've been already teammates. They work well off of each other. Jesper has shown that if he's put on the bench, he's going to come back to bite the coaches in the butt, and he's going to show what he can do. So you give him this 1-year deal, and he's going to play his heart out for the next big deal after that. So you put Nico and Jesper on the line together, put Palmieri on the right. In this perfect world, you never know what could happen. And with Jack Hughes just cutting or just dry, he's had the experimentation on the wings. It has not worked. There's only room for one big center in a small town like New Jersey, and it's got to be Nico. I just see a future where Jack and Nico 1-2 may not work. So, see you later, Jack.
I have a question for you. Charlie. Did you honestly make that pick just to be a little bit different for me, or you really do feel like that with those picks? Just kind of curious.
A bit of both. Just wanted to be different.
Okay.
But
all right. I respect that.
There is a part of me that somewhere down the line, Nico's been given a 7-year deal. This is just in real life. He got a 7-year deal. I believe he'll be an unrestricted free agent by the time that deal is done. And then by that time, Jack should probably have gotten the same deal. And I know that when Ray Shiro was here, he kind of had a vision of maybe Nico and Jack being his Crosby and Malkin, and that's worked. But now with Ray being gone and so many systems being changed and so many personnel changes, it may not suit well for both of them. Not just for the both of them, but for a lot of the younger players, not knowing, hey, what are we going to do in the future, if that makes any sense.
Makes total sense.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. We're going to hit some free agency. So, Charlie, we'll start with you. Building up the defense, make 2 signings, one for 5 years, one for 1 year, and 1 year you're just going to kick to the curb. Your options are Alex Pietrangelo, Torrey Krug, or Tyson Barrie.
Ooh, that's a good one. I will give the long-term deal to Alex Pietrangelo. He's a proven commodity. He obviously just won the Stanley Cup. He's been the captain for St. Louis for a long time. Somebody who can be responsible on both ends of the puck, which is what the Devils kind of need right now. Their defense is not the greatest, and the production on the back end is also not the greatest. So bringing in a guy that can do both just seems hand in hand. It just hasn't worked out with PK. That's what they brought him in for. Hopefully, when this is all over. PK can come back and be the guy of old, but you never know. I'll give it a 1-year deal to Torrey Krug. Krug is more of just a straight offensive defenseman. Once again, something that the Devils sorely need. Production on the back end. Give him a 1-year deal. And then I'm just cutting Tyson Barrie dry. Watching him in Toronto, he struggled under Babcock's system, not to his own fault, because Babcock had a kind of prehistoric system with the group that he had. He just didn't do well. And then Sheldon Keefe came in. He was hot for a little bit, and then he just kind of cooled. He's just too inconsistent, so I got to give a 5-year deal to Petrangelo, 1 year to Krug, and bye-bye Tyson Barrie.
All right, Sam, what's your thoughts?
I'm just debating if I should be a little different from Charlie, but I'm gonna give it a shot. 5-year deal. I would give it to Krug. Why? There are too many righties on this defense in New Jersey. You got to balance it out. 1-year deal. Peter Angelo. I would give it to him. He's a winner. He's a Stanley Cup winner. Also with Krug playing in Boston, they've been very good this past season. And I would agree with Charlie about Tyson Barrie. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. You're not on my team.
All right. Sorry, I just got thrown off because there's a TikTok of Connor Carrick going around of him doing this really strange dance in his living room and a dog just standing in the middle of it. So I got very distracted there. But moving on. All right. So one more on the Devils and then one more kind of special one. So Sam, your choices are Kyle Palmieri, Nikita Gusev, and Mackenzie Blackwood.
Could you repeat that again? Sorry, I was just Mackenzie Blackwood, Nikita Gusev, and who else?
And Palmieri.
All right, Mac Black, 5 years. I think he's the goalie of the future. He's got the size. He has learned to carry the team on his back at the goaltender position at such a young age. Obviously, wearing the number 29 kind of reminds me of somebody that started out with the Devils about 25 years ago. I think that's a sentimental pick as well. So I would say Mac Black, 5 years. Now it's between Gusev and Palmieri. I think Palmieri, 1 year. He's a leader of the club. He scores clutch goals. I remember when he started off the season with in the first 2 games, 4 goals a game. Obviously his family is rooted in New Jersey, and with the charity work, it goes a long way. Those are the intangibles. And as of Gusev, well, ever since Kovalchuk, I can't trust those KHLers. I don't know why. And there's nothing that Gusev did anything wrong. But you know what? The goose goes south in the winter. He could take a hike.
All right, Charlie, what's your thoughts?
Once again, I'm going to go different from Sam. I'm going to give Palmieri the 5-year deal he's a fan favorite. He's a guy who can, when healthy, consistently produce 30 goals. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a leader on the ice. You see it every night when he plays. I'll give Blackwood the 1-year deal. the reason why I would give Blackwood the 1-year deal, I would, if I'm the Devils, try everything in my power, draft Yaroslav Askarov in the draft and bring him on and have him be the goalie of the future, which may not pan out. But Blackwood may not pan out if you give him a 5-year deal. If you give a goalie a 5-year deal and it doesn't work out the first 2 years, you have a big cap hit for the next 3 and you can't move it. See Price, Carey. And then with Gusev, he just hasn't been here long enough. He's been great. He's great for social media and great for the gifts and great for the Goose chants, but he just hasn't been here long enough. He could be a 1-year wonder as a 27-year-old. He could be the next Panarin, but, the options I've been given, he's the one that's got to go.
All right. And one last one. Charlie, who are you signing long-term, signing short-term, and cutting between 2012, Zach Parise, Ilya Kovalchuk, or David Clarkson?
I think it would be the easiest answer is giving Parise the 5-year deal. Because if you give him the long-term deal, which Lou should have done, not trying to dig up old bones, but giving him the 5-year deal, he would still be the captain, in my opinion. He would still be the guy who fans cheer every night for and will put his heart and soul out on the line every night. Knowing what we know, I'd still give Kovalchuk the 1-year deal. Maybe try one more year at the Stanley Cup. And with Clarkson, it just never worked out after he left because I think it was his back. It was either him or Nathan Horton that had the bad back, but he just couldn't stay healthy. And he legitimately didn't really do anything after he left New Jersey. So I got to cut Clarkson.
All right, Sam, what about you?
Can you repeat the players again? Sorry, I'm running the board here.
It's Parise, Kovalchuk, and Clarkson. But they're 2012 iterations of themselves.
Is it going into 2013 or is it just for now?
It's right now. I built the time machine.
Okay. Well, right now, I would say, I don't like any of them. But I would put Kovalchuk on a 1-year deal, just like as Charlie said, because, look, it's a contract year. He suddenly performs, right? And he's trade bait. Everybody would love him. In terms of 5-year
just do better
deal,
than the Thrashers did.
Yeah, I would have Parise sign a 5-year deal, but under one stipulation: 1 day or less to think about it. And David Clarkson. The thing is, if you say like, it's hard to say David Clarkson, see you later, because 2012 he had like 30 goals. He wasn't he was pretty good. It's just he just mailed it in after he got his big contract. So why don't we do this? Let's take Kovalchuk out the 1-year. I changed my mind now. Put Clarkson in that 1-year deal because he performed very well when he was on a contract year, right? And he has that grit. He had all that. 5-year, Parise. Why? Is because he's Zach Parise. He's an All-American boy. Collegiate hockey for 2 years. But, he's a winner. As for Kovalchuk, he gets to heave ho. Not so much on his talent. Not so much the hatred of why we don't like him. It's because, you know what? I don't know. I just don't like Kovalchuk anymore. There's
The
no
Russian
other
bias is
reason.
showing.
Yeah, Yeah. After he ditched us, you know what? I don't want to even talk. He's dead to me, is what we say in Jersey.
There you go. You're burying him in the Hudson, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's time to pick a winner. So the two main factors is Sam. He hit the nail on the head. I think that Torrey Krug is the guy that should have got the 5-year deal. So he hit the nail on the head there, and I was really impressed, Sam, that you got the right-handedness of the free agents. You got your finger on the pulse of the other teams in the league. But you also gave Kevin Rooney a 5-year deal, which I look down upon that. But I'm still gonna have to give the win to Sam here. Sam, you're the winner tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Did you hear that, Charlie? Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I thought I did a pretty good job.
Yeah, Charlie, you did very well. It was actually a fun game this time. I didn't feel like I had to go for the jugular. I could just be myself and just win. That's all.
Charlie, I didn't like your lack of faith in McKenzie. I know Askarov is a good prospect, but the lack of faith in McKenzie hurt my feelings.
It's understandable. I'm just not comfortable giving a goalie a long-term contract.
It's fair. It's
He
burned
didn't
us.
happen with a goal. Yep.
But Charlie, I do appreciate you coming on, and we'll have you on again where you can, you can take the title back from Sam. I mean, you guys have done this. You go back and forth. You'll win the next one, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I won the last one. Sam can have this one. It's okay. I will be back.
I don't need any charity work. I don't need any handouts.
Charlie, you working on anything on the blog this week?
Actually, I have two things going on right now. I have currently running my PlayStation 2. I'm running some simulations on ESPN's NHL 2K5 and collecting some data. And I'll have something about who would have won the Stanley Cup in 2004-05, the lost season. And I'm also working on some draft stuff for you guys who are listening out there.
Is that the one with Marty St. Louis on the front?
Yes, it is. The one with the old Marty. The other Marty.
Funny story. Me and my cousin were both ranked. He was actually ranked, I think, 11th in the world, and I was ranked pretty high up there as well. But we were literally dominant in that game, and then they added all these new features, and now I'm terrible at hockey video games. But what are you gonna do?
The only reason why I'm using this game instead of NHL 04 or NHL 05, I believe it would be NHL 04 for that season, is because the EA's simulation engine throughout the years has always been slow. It'll take you a while to get through one season, but I don't know why, but ESPN's 2K5 NHL, I'm done with the season in about 2-3 minutes if I turn all the notifications off. That's really about it. So I can get through 10 seasons in about 20 minutes, and I would still be through only a quarter of season 1 for NHL 04. So it's for time's sake. That's why I'm using this game.
There you go. It's also a great game. I enjoyed the game. But Charlie, thanks so much for coming on. We look forward to that piece.
Oh, no problem, guys. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Charlie. That's Charlie Borges of Pucks and Pitchforks blog. Wonderful blog. If you haven't seen the Pucks and Pitchforks blog yet, well, I'm going to show you on my iPad. wonderful website. Tons of content. Yeah.
Mazel tov.
Yeah. Or Nick Villano's article, New Jersey Devils should treat Ty Smith like Cale Makar. You could just go there and read all about it. pucksandpitchforksblog.com. I'll tell you, it's great. Now, I'm trying to figure out the TikTok. I'm trying to find out Connor Carrick's TikTok video. I want to play it, but I can't find his account. Or did it get deleted? Because I think a lot of these videos got deleted.
I see it on 5 minutes. Yeah, Yahoo Sports NHL is the one who tweeted it.
Okay, they tweeted it. All right, so I got to see what you're talking about. So give me 1 second here. But let's see here. Let's go to Twitter.
It was
right?
11 hours ago they tweeted it. So you gotta
Yahoo Sports.
Yahoo Sports NHL. So at Yahoo Sports NHL.
Okay. Let's see. There's all sorts of stuff here. So why don't you guide me through here? I'm going to scroll down. It was about 9 hours ago, you said?
It was 11. So like around 11 o'clock.
Oh, here we go.
Morning.
Here we go. All right. You want to play it? Let's play it. All right.
There it is.
All right. Let's see. Let's start from the beginning here.
So you bagged him. I'm a savage. Classy, bougie, ratchet. Sassy, moody, nasty. Hacking, stupid. What's happening? What's happening? I'm a savage.
We got to get Connor Carrick on the podcast. How do we do that?
I don't know, Sam. I didn't hear the song before, so that one okay.
You want to hear it again?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, we got to be a little careful with these these songs, you know what I mean? So also, I'm going to plug one other thing. After this podcast, you can go to letsgodels.com. You can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all these places where you can find our wonderful programming. Nick, any last words for tonight? This is a long podcast. Great podcast, but long podcast.
It was long, but we got to give the people the content. People have been, I've noticed, Sam, we've transitioned to more of the traditional podcast sense as people's lives are a little different now. So I appreciate those people who, you wake up tomorrow and you give us a listen, or you listen to us on iTunes. Just remember, give us those 5 stars. Those 5 stars on iTunes.
Yep. Also, I just want to do a little plugging here. I started a new Mets podcast called Let's Go Mets Podcast. You can find it anywhere on the web. I'm going to be doing some Mets podcasts as well. But for all my Devils fans, all those Devils fans or Mets fans can. Well, Nick, great night tonight.
It was. Enjoyed it. Bryce is great.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you, Bryce Salvador. Thank you, Charlie Borges Jr. Till next time, let's go Devils.